Another video just going over one of the core studies from cognitive. This is the study by Craik and Tulving in 1975. Remember, this is a study for levels of processing. So the aim of this was to investigate if depth of processing increases people's ability to remember things. So in green, to test whether words that were processed for their meaning, semantic or deeply, would be remembered better than words which are processed for either how they looked, so structural or shallow, or how they sounded, phonemic and intermediate. We just wanted to see if that levels of processing idea, that deep is processed better, is true. So there was 24 participants, and they were told that this was a study of reaction times. They were just going to study how long it took them to answer some questions. They're seated in front of a screen, and words were flashed on the screen. The words appeared each for a fifth of a second, 200 milliseconds, and this was followed by one of 5 questions. And what they had to do was answer yes or no by pressing a button. Half of the time, the correct answer was yes. So one of the questions was, is it in capital letters? And half of the time it was. And half the time the correct answer is no. So what we've got is these 5 questions with yes or no answers, giving us 10 conditions in total. Key important bit is they show them the words and then they have to answer one of 5 questions. And these are the 5 questions. 3 of them are in bold because they're the ones we used in class when we recreated this. So number 1, is there a word present or not? Number 2, is the word in capitals? Number 3, do the words rhyme with, and they give them an option. Number 4, does the word fit into this particular category, such as animals? And number 5, does the word fit into this sentence? And they should give them a sentence to see if the word fit in. So once they've done this with all those different 40 words, they were given an unexpected free recall test. They didn't know they had to do this, but they basically said, write down as many of those 40 words that you've just seen as you can remember. Once they'd done that, they gave them a prompted recall test. So 80 words appeared on the screen, and they asked them to identify the 40 words that they'd just seen. But basically they did a memory test, and they had to recall as many of the words as they could. This is the table of results. As you can see, there's quite a few of them. These are the questions going from is there a word present to does the word fit into this sentence. The first table, this one here, is measuring how long it took them to respond. How long it took them to give the answer, for whether the answer was either yes or no that they give. And the bottom table is the proportion recognised. How many words were correctly identified, again from the lowest level of was there a word present to the highest of does it fit into this sentence. So the higher the point here, the better the words were recalled, and obviously the higher the number here, the longer it took to respond. This is a graph showing the time it took to respond. As you can see, it took longer to answer the question the harder the question got. And a graph to show the number of words correctly identified. So question 5 was the one that had the most correctly identified, and they identified more if the answer was actually yes. If it was saying capital letters, or sorry, if it fit into this sentence and said did it fit into this sentence, people recalled them better. This written as simple percentages, 17% of the words were processed by appearance were remembered, 37% of those processed auditorily were remembered, and 65% of those processed deeply or semantically were remembered. These percentages will be enough to carry you through some of the marks of the results in the exam. 17, 37, 65. And finally, just to round up the results, the yes answers were recalled better than no answers, and these were some of the conclusions taken from a mark scheme. Remember, when we're evaluating this experiment, we would use grave, simple things, you know how to do all this. 1 point for validity, though, might be that it took greater amount of time to recall them. Perhaps in that time they'd rehearsed, so perhaps it was the rehearsal time that led to the better recall rather than the deepness of processing. And that is everything that you need to know about Craik and Tulving. Bye.